Let's call the meeting to order. 4:05. I'm just looking at this.
Oh, that's,
That's the official.
oh, is that the official?
That's the
That's what we're using.
old style.
Okay.
Um. Oh. Additions, deletions, or.
Any additions, deletions, or changes?
So there is, we have to recertify the budget. So we can get the raises. Approved, you'll have to speak up, so she hears it too, so. Oh, sorry, Sarah. Okay. I just wanted to mention that the town plan now includes the blurb that we, asked them to include in it, and it did a good job of putting that together. And then, I just realized that I have some info on the capital plan. And the 2025 budget, that was given to me as information. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the 8/15 meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion. Can I do that if I'm asked for a motion?
I just have this, I mean, first what they are,
The
I
question,
mean, I can, but then I have my question.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
So are there any questions or corrections?
I have a couple, on the second page, first of all, it says, Keystone will be taking a 2-week vacation September 4th to 23. Blah, blah, blah. Could we change that last sentence so it reads, she is currently organizing substitutes, period?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just because they didn't know it to the library director's job,
No, I mean, everybody just kind of,
did their own thing.
yeah, and if there were big things that.
Well,
popped up,
don't
it
say
went
the
to-
wrong thing, because, I mean.
No, I mean, they did their job.
They're doing the jobs
Yeah.
that they were asked, okay.
So we're getting rid of to handle the library director's duties in her absence.
Correct. And then just point of clarification on this summer reading program final data. The actual books read was higher, but not everybody documented the books that they read this summer. So if we could just put like an asterisk, that would be great.
I don't understand.
So,
Like a footnote, it was higher. This isn't an exact number. Oh, okay. On the books read, 565 total books read this summer.
how about reported, like total books reported read? That's what you're. I mean, what I'm getting at is that I don't want people to think that we had just a small number of books read this summer, because we had a huge number of books read this summer. So I want the record to convey
So
that a
would that
lot
be-
of people were reading.
Would
With
that
this
be- that'd
accurate.
be the data that we maintain indicates significantly higher amounts of books being read, something along those lines?
Sorry, 565 total books reported read this summer, with additional books read that were not reported.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you,
good.
Colleen.
Sure. Just get into the meat of the.
Right.
I think that's it. Thank you very much. Good minutes.
Excellent. Anyone else?
Do we have questions about this, but that would be an old business, right? Your question.
Are they about the minutes, or are they about?
No,
the substance of the minutes.
Well,
Oh, okay, about last meeting.
because is this actually what you're gonna put into that one? That they're gonna be updated biographies and pictures is this on the website?
Oh. I forgot we
So-
did that.
Because I can see pictures and biographies maybe of the staff, but I don't understand why they need to have that for the trustees, because that's gonna constantly change.
Historical
that staff
practice,
instead of
yeah,
staff.
honestly, staff,
People want to know.
Well, and honestly, the minutes just say discussion to update, including this. We didn't really,
No formal
no,
action.
no action was
Right.
made. It was just a discussion.
Okay,
So if we want to discuss that, do you want to add that to old business or additions, deletions and changes?
that would,
be old.
Okay.
Well, it's under old business here. And then we also have to add your questions to old business regarding some of these items.
right,
But we can,
so you wanna add them into the old
Yeah.
business?
yes.
Okay.
So it's the hazardous material policy and the, is that it? That's it.
And I
Hazardous
just said,
material.
oh, and I want to know what was added. Add additional items is necessary, and I just wonder what was added.
We don't, that's what we were talking about.
Okay.
So we can, that's gonna be in there, we're gonna talk about it. Okay. I don't have anything.
So. When motion to approve? Or now that we've done that, or
Well,
Second.
And then
so
Discussion,
you'd like to
open session, and
amend
then
the
we have
original
to
submission?
we have a
So
motion to
yeah.
approve these
So
with those.
you made that motion to amend, and I'll
Mhm.
approve that motion.
Okay, right,
So now replaces the former motion.
right.
okay,
Right.
So now we gotta vote on that.
Oh, okay. Do you have a motion
Oh,
to approve?
You bet.
We already to approve the minutes as corrected.
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor? We have to
Aye.
do that? Aye, okay. There.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, there you are.
her too.
Treasurer's report?
copy of the.
Somewhere.
Sarah, I'm passing out just the current financial reports for the library as of 9/30/24. We're actually, Bridget and I need to get together to spend some money.
Mhm.
Things are looking good right now. We have 25% of the budget year remaining as of October 1. And our budget shows 32.5% of the budget to be spent for a balanced budget, so we're fine there. I did speak a little bit with Lori, the treasurer, and we need to sit down with her when things calm down, Bridget, and we'll go over the adjusting entries, journal entries that we think need to happen so that we can work with her to make sure that works as we would like. The nice thing about the unspent budget, a lot of those items are for the purchases of books and other items that we can buy or not buy, depending on where the budget's looking and what would be the best use of those funds. So we will work on that together. Also, the capital budget plan, well, let me back up a second. Let me see. Are there any questions on this report that just went out? It reflects as of 9/30. So it's all the salaries, it's all of the, and benefits as well as the consumables that we.
So when we certify the budget and we haven't spent the money on the raises yet, correct?
That's what I
So
understand.
that's gonna
Is that
change
correct?
that.
I believe the raises were implemented when we asked for them to be implemented.
Okay, but because there was
And they were
confusion,
retro.
it was just,
Oh, okay,
it was just
okay.
easy.
So I think this should be correct
Okay,
if the report is as of
Okay.
9/30.
I just wondered.
That's better. Okay.
So I've got a question.
Go
For
for it.
the library adult books, I see that we only have about $370 left but until the end of the year. As a board, are we allowed to reallocate money if we want to spend more on books? Or is that something, once the budget's set, there's no wiggle room?
No, the budget's a living document, so it can always be amended at any point in time.
Mhm.
And it's not, you're not fixed to, because it's not. When the voters approved our budget, they approved the bottom line. They didn't approve the individual line
Okay,
items.
so
So that then
that's up to us.
allows us to,
Change
yeah,
if we want to,
yeah.
okay. Wish that there were grants for like certain adult books, like you like cowboy books, it's like, get this grant. I mean, it's great that we always get children's grants. but
Well,
Once I'm rich and famous, that's what I'm doing. I'm making grants for silly books.
Thank you, Colleen.
Oh,
You're gonna be the adult Dolly Parton,
Right? Oh my goodness, that would be amazing.
right?
I would love that. Now I've got new goals.
Oh,
where's the $200? That's
the difference.
the difference between the revenue and the expenses.
that is monies that came in from the
Oh,
other
right here.
revenue. It's up on top. It's not reflected down below.
Okay.
So you can
So
see the
this one
$200
and this one
difference.
Yeah. there's-
So that's just gravy. So when we started off the year, we anticipated $200 of
Oh, what was that?
copier purchases, and donations, things like that. And that's traditionally the way it's been raised. I'll guarantee you that if there was a substantial amount, like $1,000, we would put it in the budget, but it's only $200 and it fluctuates from year to year. And you're not gonna balance the budget with that.
Do you have another extra one of these? No. Thank you. All right. Any questions from anybody else about this?
Okay, well, we're gonna need to start thinking about the 2025 capital budget. And, I'd like a little bit of, so what is it the board would like for us to do with that budget? Let's do a blank. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Yeah, so we want to continue with the budget initiatives that we did last year, where we made sure we had sufficient coverage throughout the day, so there were at least a minimum of 2 people. And then also, trying to build our salaries for folks so they more closely approximate the Vermont Department of Libraries report that we were able to use last year. We were woefully behind. And, if that's the direction you want us to go, then we can construct a budget.
A
this is
regular
gonna-
budget.
A regular budget.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a little hard because we had some grants last year that helped supported salaries. And they won't be available this year. I think the board right now is looking at a budget of a 3% increase, 4% increase, unless we can justify a further increase. And I'm thinking, the data that we had last year was a big convincer for the board,
Yes.
because we were coming in, we ended up with, I think, almost another $15,000 because of the data. And so I think we need to recreate that data, update it as best we can.
Yes.
And make sure that the select board understands that, that report from the Vermont Department of Libraries is now 1 year old. And, people are, so while we can rely on that, we probably need to update or increase some of those, salary amounts for people in those range categories. So if we're comparing fiscal years to fiscal years and not the current fiscal year with last year's fiscal year.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions. I know we're differentiating the capital budget from a regular budget. Do we have, is that operation budget? Is it called just the yearly budget? How do we
The-
really title the
The one we're talking about here,
Mhm.
the operational budget.
operational budget?
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
wanna make
that's why,
sure
that's what
it's
I've called
clear.
it, but
Okay.
yeah.
And that's the one that will have the 4% increase. And the capital budget is
I would guess it'd be up to 4%,
up to, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but we're not gonna have any problems justifying the 4%, only
No.
because our salaries are still significantly less.
Right.
We're
Than
gonna have a
even
hard
last year.
time keeping it.
At 4?
Or I would
I-
even venture it would be impossible for us to
Yeah.
keep it at 4%.
But as you said, I think if we come with data.
Yeah.
And especially the, Department of Library schedule of salaries. We can hopefully start approaching some of those.
So I know about a month ago, there was that big Excel spreadsheet of all of the different libraries and trustees and dates and employees and, all of that. Could that data be submitted if we? Okay, let me back up. Is the library intending on making a new sheet like we had last year, a new program, information like we had last year with the data that was just released a month ago, or no?
So, I think what you're referring to is the Vermont Department of Library, like the state data report.
Right, yes.
Okay, so yes, that shows like the levels of service, number of books, like it's
Right, it
many
was
data
very
points. It's
To the
very
point where
detailed.
this is how many
Yeah.
people you have in your community,
Correct.
full-time,
Yeah.
part-time employees, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
and you.
Master's level.
It's wonderful because you
libraries,
can sort it
right.
by county and size of the community and
Is
all
it-
of that, which is really helpful. And you're asking if we're going to extrapolate parts of that into our presentation to the select board for our budget.
I guess in my head, I was thinking if the library itself doesn't come up with a readable, user-friendly report, can we go through that document and look for similar sized libraries or similar sized communities of libraries?
That certainly informs, yes.
Okay.
Like that is
Especially-
part of the
Absolutely.
process.
And
that
not like
do.
cherry picking, hey, they've got this kind of budget, we need that
No,
too.
no, no, no,
But
no.
at the same
No, I
time,
mean, it's not
showcasing,
fair to compare
Right.
Georgia to Stowe, even though
Right.
we have about
that's why I
the
was
same
thinking
population.
similar size.
Right.
Right.
Hyde Park is about the same size,
Okay.
Richmond is about the same size, and they're comparable. The difference, well, maybe even in terms of businesses, like the number of businesses in town, Richmond and Georgia are pretty comparable.
Okay.
So, I don't know, but they do have some industry in
Mhm.
Richmond.
So we'll take our internal data from whatever, the number of books that
Yeah.
went out,
So we'll
et
use
cetera, et
a
cetera.
combination of our.
Yeah.
So our internal data is what is reported on the state data report,
Right.
but that is a year old, right? So we will
Right.
use the data that will be reported on the next state data
Yeah.
report to formulate our budget. So
Mhm.
it will be that, and it will also be the report that was generated by the Vermont Library Association last year to Congress, to the Vermont State Congress, about the state of Vermont libraries, which argues that we are woefully underfunded, and a huge service that's utilized well.
Actually, I don't know if it was on that library trustee
Lists are.
listserv, yeah.
Mhm.
And there was something about, the United States, government is giving these libraries and all over the country and it was wonderful because they gave like $8,000 to the state of Vermont for library for flood. And I was like, that's nice, but
$8,000?
did you read that? I was
Yeah, I mean,
blown.
that is
was like,
typical.
Well, it's done on a
Yeah.
population
For
basis,
the whole
right?
stay.
I mean, usually what the feds do is they'll come up with a per capita amount, but then for the really small states, they'll bump it up a little bit with a higher per capita. amount,
Oh, I see.
reflecting that,
So because we're a
their
small
basic
state.
costs, their basic costs, you still have to cover whether you're in New York or Vermont.
But seriously, like, that's not
$7,000 won't
even
bother.
Yeah.
the book budget for large print books for the
Yeah.
Vermont Department of Libraries to
Right.
send out to everybody in the state. Like, what do you do with that, right? Like, you buy some promotional materials. I don't know.
But I think that's worth including in anything to the select board is big picture stuff. If
Right.
the US government is allocating funds, we get the littlest because we're
Yes.
the least populated state.
That's a really good point,
Yeah.
Colleen. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for
Yeah, big picture
Keep
stuff.
that, you know, like,
synthesizing those.
yeah,
Yeah.
keep making notes, because we'll need that in sometime in November. and December.
So are we good to prepare a budget draft with the areas that I talked about? Increasing salaries, making sure we've got adequate staffing coverage, at least 2 people covering the library at any point in time.
So
Um,
do we need to add another staff position?
So, yeah, I was gonna talk, about this some more during my library director's report, but I just
Oh,
wanted
sorry.
to clarify that. Should we talk about it now? I mean.
Talk to the chair.
Well, we've got the
when would you
library
like to
director's
talk
report down
about
here.
it, Terry.
Well, let's see, are you kind of finished presenting the budget
Yeah.
and the?
Well, I had a
and the-
question.
Yes, go ahead.
So these numbers here that you have, these totals, they're going out to 12/31? So they're projected?
No, they're not, no, they are not.
These are up until as of now, so,
September 30.
so we've got the 50,000 to,
Yeah.
Right.
to,
52.
Yeah.
No,
that's got to bring us through the end of the year.
Mhm.
Do we have a projected amount of what these are gonna cost
No,
to
we
know
need
if we're
to
gonna
make-
go over?
That's the next step, is look
Or
at the projection for the various line items, trend them out to 12/31.
Mhm.
And that's part of the next report, and that will be used to help support the 2025 budget development as well.
Okay. Yeah, it's, because, I mean, if you don't have that, then you don't know what you can move and play with.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you get a general idea by
Yeah.
looking at the town year-to-date variance
Right.
percent
Mhm.
column, right? But yeah, you'd have to subtract and all.
All right, let's move on to the library director's report.
All right.
Start with that little
Yes,
piece.
So do we
yes,
have
thank
to
you.
approve those report? No. Okay.
So, currently, we are, doing our very best to staff with 2 people at any given time. And, there are times when we cannot make that happen because somebody's out sick and there isn't a substitute available, or somebody has an appointment and they have to leave. So we do our very best to make it happen. And we also have, solo staff at certain times of the week because they are unpopular times for people to work. And it's really hard to find staff at the wages that we're offering to cover those times. So the vast majority of the time, we have 2 people on staff. Our aspiration is to get to a point where we always have 2 people on staff, but we haven't been able to get there quite yet. If a situation presents when something comes up and we're gonna leave one person solo, the current operational way that it works is we ask the person if they're comfortable being alone. If they are, fine, like they're, if it's a couple hours, that's fine for them to be alone if they're comfortable with it. Not ideal, but we let it go because the other option is we have to close the library. If they're not comfortable with it,
Right.
no questions asked, right? Like we close the library and put a sign on the door and say, due to circumstances beyond our control. So, so that's operationally how it works. I want to make sure that we have clarity for everybody involved. So if there's a sub, they're not feeling like, seems like I could probably go home, right? Or if a trustee comes in and sees a staff solo, they're like, oh, like, should I stay because they're solo? And that staff feel like they know that there's gonna be another person here, and if there's not, then like, that's not okay, right? So just to clarify, we do aspire to have 2 people on staff at every time. We don't have a budget to support that right now. So that is part of what we need to do in our next year's budget is increase the number of staff hours so that we can do that. And as much as possible, we need to have 2 people here at all times for the staff safety and for any potential liability, right?
The other thing that I just, after the budget was approved, over the summer, actually, I was out bicycling and got it. So we also did not budget that second person when you would normally be working because you're out on sick leave or out on vacation leave. So we need to build a buffer for that as well,
Right,
this year's budget.
right. So I guess that was just point of clarification, like no change to policy, just clarifying operationally what we're doing. Is that good?
Mhm.
All right. I also wanted to check in about our policy for vulnerable adults, which was updated last year. Somehow that revision, Sarah, didn't make it into what is online in our policies. So I want to get with you and get that updated vulnerable person policy and
Okay.
make sure that it's on the website correctly and so forth. So
Of course, yeah, I didn't realize that hadn't happened,
Yeah.
and I can look at my
yeah, thank you. And
documents and make sure that everyone has the most updated one.
yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot with this at all. That's not my intention.
Okay. Yeah, I'll find out as soon as I can and make sure everyone has it.
Okay, awesome. So, what has happened the last few Fridays is we have a couple young people whose parents are not here by 5 o'clock. It's Friday afternoon. It's the end of the work week. People have plans, right? And staff have been very generous in staying 15 minutes late. As I recall, Sarah, will you please correct me here if I'm misremembering, or Bob? Last year, when we created the policy, we had a trustee who was willing and able to come in for the most part if we were in that situation where a young person was going to be left alone outside. We no longer necessarily have that person available, and I don't know if that's really the optimal way of handling the situation. So how we've responded to that so far is we've put a note in Wildberry that says, please remember to pick up your kid on time and make arrangements if you're not going to be on time. So, you know, kids, you know, we check in. Is somebody coming for you? Yep. Right. And there are other ways that we could address it and respond to the situation, but I'm hoping that, you know, just the note in Wildberry, like the friendly reminder, is going to be adequate.
Because you do put a trustee in some sort of liability
Exactly, for sure.
issue. If the library's closed, they're the only ones here and there's kids.
Right.
I'm sorry, being a new trustee, what is the vulnerable person policy or what does it cover?
It used to be called the unattended child policy, and we broadened it so it would cover, you know, folks who might have a cognitive impairment or
Well, actually, I have been able to pull it up, and I have the most updated version I have is from September 12th, 2023. And so I'm just going to try to pull together an email real quick so I can send this to you guys so you can reference it.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so prior to this policy revision, what happened was staff would wait for, I can't remember if it was 10 or 15 minutes past our usual close time. At that point, the police could, like the policy states, police will be called to take charge of the situation. For any number of reasons, that's not a feasible alternative. It's not like I don't want,
Probably not that
I'm not
comfortable.
comfortable with that.
No,
So I
and our
think
police
we,
coverage is pretty slim anyway.
right, and you know, like,
So the old policy said that the staff waits 10 to 15 minutes and then the police call them. So that wasn't feasible, so we changed it to,
so we changed it to, Sarah, did you send out that email?
I just hit send, but let me pull it up also so that I can,
Would you mind reading it out to us?
yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Let's see, parents, guardians, and caregivers. That's just a reminder that people are potentially at risk. Legal gardens are responsible accessing library items. Supervision. Staff is not responsible. Staff does not monitor children, nor is that a responsibility. Here we go. Under transportation, it says parents, guardians, and caregivers are expected to be aware of the opening and closing times of the library and to make suitable arrangements to meet or transport their children. If the library is closing and a child is left unattended, the staff may assist the child in calling home to arrange for transportation. However, if the child is not picked up within 15 minutes after closing, it still says the police will be called to take responsibility. The library staff is not permitted to take a child out of the building or to transport them to another location.
Well,
I
thank
really
you
do
for that
feel like we had
clarification.
talked about changing that.
Yeah, we did talk about changing it, and I don't know what the alternative is, right? Like,
Right.
I'm not sure it's wise for a trustee to take charge of the situation.
I'm not
Maybe-
sure it's wise for staff to
Right,
No,
take charge either.
so,
Cause that goes with the whole thing of having two people available
Yes,
anyway, so
yes.
one
Yeah.
person wouldn't be able to stay here by themselves with that
Right.
child, you'd have to have two, so now two are staying late.
and that impacts our budget.
Right.
Like every Friday,
Yeah.
every
And
whatever,
it's
like
not
3
fair
days a
to
week.
them.
Yeah, so maybe what I should do is do some research about how other libraries address this situation.
so I was thinking
With the-
too, if you were talking about not just children, but maybe individuals with disabilities, we should change the verbiage from children to individuals or.
I think that in the last draft of that, Sarah, didn't we change all the verbiage to vulnerable adult rather
I
than
believe
child?
we did unattended, vulnerable individuals, and then it says all children 8 years or under and any person who is vulnerable must have a qualified adult in attendance with them.
Yeah, I know that we missed one, like we revisited this several times trying to get it right, and here we are, it's time to revise again, so.
And also 8, and I mean, anybody just over 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, I just don't think are.
Yeah, I mean, unless
No, that's
I
what-
can see parents dropping off for, an organization like Scouts or something like where there's another adult
Sure.
present. Or for the chess, I know like for chess or clubs and things like that, but I don't think of like 8, maybe 12, but I don't know, are you allowed to name a policy like 12 and under must be accompanied by parents?
I think that it's done. I'm quite sure that other libraries have
Yeah.
that in place. We were trying to broaden it so that it was more inclusive of folks who might have other needs. But
How
you know,
does-
honestly, we don't
How
have
do
the
other
staffing.
places that are drop-offs for the buses handle stuff like this?
I
Like
mean,
if it's a
it's
school,
a great-
or are there any other businesses that are dealing with this?
I don't think that, I'm not sure that that's apples to apples. I think what we should do is
Okay.
talk to libraries, because schools tend to have a lot of staff there, right? And
That's true, and
they're
other
vetted
policies in
and
place.
fingerprinted
I
and
just
all
wasn't
that.
sure if it was the kind of thing where, like, is it systemic, like, for the parents? Like, should we be reaching out to the high schools and be like, hey, we're seeing a pattern of people not being picked up? Or,
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure if there's any other avenues that we could take,
Yeah, I'm not sure we're at
even in the
that
short
point
term
yet.
for these kiddos, you know?
Yeah, I think like one thing that occurred to me is that when kids come in, they have to sign in and they have, or like at the beginning of the year, if your kid's gonna be utilizing our space, you know, we need a parent contact.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Emergency contact numbers.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I don't know.
At least
But
they're all,
that's not gonna solve it, right? Like the parents, like tied up at work, oh,
And
it's a
if they're
library
half
call,
an
I'm not
hour
answering the
away,
phone.
they're half an hour away at their work, they're not gonna make it here in 15 minutes, but they should call somebody who's closer, hopefully, to pick them up.
Right,
The problem you have is the whole car seat issue too, because if they have to be in a car seat,
Yeah,
well, these are
These
middle
are
school,
older.
high school kids. right?
yeah.
they're all older.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the kids who were unattended were middle school, high school
Yeah.
age.
Okay,
But still,
But
you know,
they
you don't
pick up-
wanna leave,
right.
Even high
there's a
school
wide
kids.
range of, you know, kids feeling able and confident and safe.
and you
in
don't
being
want them
able
to
do
say,
that.
now you gotta wait under there,
Right,
and, you know, just kind of assume that's a good idea. All right,
And that's not closed for winter either.
No.
So it's not like a shelter
no,
for them to wait.
So you must have kids, like you're saying, in the wintertime, in this facility, in this building.
Yeah.
And they're being, technically, they could be shooed out.
Mhm.
But, unfortunately, the staff has been very kind and, waited for kids to get picked up, but
but just don't abuse it, you know, like staff are kind and generous and like we all want what's best for the kids, but we've got lives too, you know, and people have plans and
who
And it
determined
impacts the
this place
budget.
as the drop off point?
I'm not sure. I think that there's several through town,
there?
depending,
Okay.
like, I know that kids
Yeah.
get dropped at the school.
There's, I think it's, Colchester and
South.
South Burlington, go to the school. I had it at some point. I had
Yeah.
They go to
information.
the school?
And then there's Georgia
There's
Market in
Georgia-
here,
I
right?
don't know if anybody still goes to Georgia Market. I think it's
Okay.
Maple Fields in
Okay,
here.
okay.
It's, I'm not quite sure. I had imagined it was up to the school's, the buses, the bus company, who would contact the school or the library or whoever to say, is this okay? What's your, like, you would just think that there'd be a plan in place
Yeah.
already from them.
For several years, I got a call from Essex and South Burlington, just like checking in, and I haven't for the last couple
and
of
like,
years.
this is, of those four, this is the worst place to come in and out
All
of.
right, yeah.
So do we still, do we stay a drop off?
The nice thing is it helps our leadership,
Right? I
right?
know,
Like
I know.
it's a safe, good place for kids to, right, do something productive
Mhm.
and enlightening,
No, I agree, but
you know? I
And they can
like
do
having, they can do homework, they can check out books, they can do a little craft. There's a trusted adult they can check in with. There was a time a couple years ago where South Burlington had like lockdown drill of like 4 in a row, and then there was a shooting. Remember, like that horrible situation? Those kids were fried. And like I wound up like reaching out to a couple of school guidance counselors I know personally and being like, how can I help them? And they're like, get out the art supplies
Yeah.
and just, you know, like tell them that you're available if they want to talk about it. If they don't, like just say, I'm so glad you're here. You are safe. You know, like it was a rough day and you're
Yeah.
on the other side of it.
yeah.
So the kids need a landing spot.
Mhm.
Oh, and I think honestly, out of all of them, the library is the best place for that landing spot because
Mhm.
in these cases, there's somewhere to go. It's covered, you know,
Mhm.
and most of the time the library is open. So.
Is there any way you can keep track of maybe who's abusing it? Abusing
Yeah,
the
it's-
situation?
Up here.
Because if they were talked to and then say, I'm sorry, you can't have them dropped off here because we cannot be responsible for them after the library closes.
Right.
And just say, it's not fair to our staff and
Yeah, well,
we can't be
and even
alone.
a conversation with the
Can you have
parent,
somebody
right?
else?
And say
Yeah,
like,
can you have somebody else pick them up?
yeah,
You
like
can't.
this was, you know, second time.
Yeah.
We had plans.
Yeah.
It kind of was hard for us. Can you give us a call or like, was there another arrangement?
Yeah. I mean, I can see if you're stuck in traffic or there's been an
Sure,
accident
stuff
and you're
happens.
stuck, stuff happens, but if they can call.
But that's the whole bus. And that,
Yeah.
and people will be waiting here.
Yeah,
So it's not like, they're gonna delay their approach because there's an accident from the bus.
So I like having them here. The flip side of that, Colleen, also is that parking lot gets nuts. Like there's this whole me first, like I can't possibly wait in line or like actually park in a spot, you know, like I've got to sit at the first spot in the end of the driveway
Oh, so we can motorate out
so that
here.
we can like, yeah.
Can we get like no parking signs for that section of the driveway on the hill where it's really not safe?
Well, what I've done in the past is I've gone out and
Yeah. Knock on the
did
window.
you hear the story of me doing that,
No, I have
Colleen?
not.
No, like, you know, sometimes people aren't terribly impressed, but like I do my best to be kind and explain, like, you know, you're blocking
yeah,
this
and you can't block the exit.
and people
no.
can't see to get around you, like it's not safe.
Right,
No parking signs.
yeah. no,
But it's also not safe for staff to have to go out there if it's a snowy day on a really steep driveway to tell people to move.
Yeah,
Right, that's true.
It's a workers' comp claim. waiting to
So
happen.
do you want Sarah to post what we have now, but then maybe revisit this in our November meeting to update what we want and then repost?
yes, I think
Well, I
that's
think you're
great.
gonna be finding out some information, right?
I'll
How some
get
other
some,
folks-
I'll get the lay of the land for
Yeah.
how other folks are addressing this. All right, moving on. We didn't get the big grant. Sad. Happy for those who did get it. Looking at, what we might have done differently. I think that many of the libraries who were awarded the grant, like there were a couple that were flood related, like Johnson, I'm so happy for them, right? That they're able to move out of the floodplain. And there's another library in that same situation. Many of the libraries, I believe, were shovel ready, like they had
I will
worked
guarantee they
their
were
plan
sure.
farther than we had.
Yeah,
So, you know, we'll keep working at it.
And
Definitely.
this is something that will come up again early next year, right? Something similar.
No,
This-
there's a HUD grant that's coming up.
Okay.
And it is,
but again, that's a sizable amount and we're back to shovel ready.
right,
Unless you're ready to spend the money and you can give them, you know, a sound amount.
Yeah, contractor.
Budget that, you know.
Yeah.
yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
You know, the bottom line is we as a community need to invest in the future of the library. We need to decide what we want to do,
Mhm.
whether it's remodeling this space and making it ADA accessible, replacing the aging furnace that's costing money that's unanticipated. We need a big spruce up, like, so we want to invest here or do we want to invest elsewhere, make up our minds and then set the steps along the way, right? So yes. Moving on, we are looking forward to the next tween book group session, which is going to be October 16th. We have a large order of new books, which are well received. And there will be more books forthcoming before the end of the year here. Banned Books Week, we had a great display that Megan put together. It was a great hit, a lot of positive feedback on that. Yeah, so that's about all. I want to thank everybody who covered my vacation for me. It was so nice to be able to do that and, you know, come back with fresh perspective and all that. It really did me a world of good.
Vacations do that.
Amazing. Right, so I got
Old business. I think we should, have a motion to rectify the budget from May.
Yeah.
So
Just
that all
to
those raises-
ratify board actions for May. regarding the 2025 budget.
2024.
24.
Excuse me, I've already moved on, haven't I?
Ah,
Let's go 2024.
Why don't you make it?
So I'm sorry, we're
I just did.
ratifying.
Okay.
I just,
And you can-
I believe the word is recertify.
I don't think it's necessary to say recertify, but if you want
Is
to
that
throw
all?
that in,
I don't think it was certified. That's why
Okay.
we're doing this,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Now I remember
Right?
what we're doing. I was
Yeah.
so you're right.
recertifying or ratifying. I'll figure that one out.
Okay.
So
Budget.
motion to accept the
The May
budget, the May budget.
And this is for the operation
I
budget.
think what you want to say is that you want to ratify the board's decision to approve the 2024 budget in May. And we'd like to ratify that action. Because we did approve it. But
Yeah,
just
that's
didn't
what I
get into the minutes.
So this is the operational budget from May of 2024 for the 2024 fiscal year.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone motion?
I made the motion.
I second it.
All,
Go ahead.
all in favor?
Aye.
But the raises have already been approved and gone out.
Yes.
I didn't hear her say aye.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Sarah did.
Oh, you
It
did?
was a little
Okay.
Regarding the capital plan or capital budget, we're gonna be meeting with the select board the week of October 21st. They've given us not only our asset list that we need to go over to make sure what's been, what's no longer here, what was replaced.
I'm
So
sorry, when you said we are meeting the week of the 21st, it's you and Bob? Or-
yeah, I would, so they have not, they haven't said when we're
Oh,
coming,
okay, gotcha.
but I would assume it would be Bob and I
Okay.
and Bridget.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes.
You want to make that as a motion? To,
It's like-
to move to send the two of us
Right.
plus Bridget to make a capital budget presentation to the select board.
Okay. Is there a motion to include Bob and Terry to meet with the select board?
Oh, yeah, that was my motion.
Oh, okay, so Bob motion, I can
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, okay. All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
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 They also, as we were talking about, told us that our budget would be at a 4% increase for 2025, but with data and other plans for, our needs and our urgent needs, it could be more than that.
I'm sorry, this meeting is for the capital budget or?
The one
for-
in October.
Gotcha,
Yeah, but then the follow-up, the operating budget,
okay.
Will be in
that's,
sometime in November.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen dates at all.
No, there isn't anything. But anyway, we have some information from them we need to fill out and give them a new list of what we have, if we've added anything greater than $5,000. So they have that information. So Bob and I will work on that. We did a little work previous to this meeting, if you'd like to know what we're thinking for the capital budget. And we have some estimations of what they're gonna cost, which we need to work on.
Which is hard, so that's the big ticket items.
Yeah.
If you're using a large contractor or multiple contractors, maybe we send out a bid.
Right.
And we're certainly not at that stage at this
No.
point. But I think, Terry, I think it would make sense just to quickly review the list.
Yeah.
That we got.
So our, in no particular order, it's
Right.
a Dropbox, a new Dropbox. 2 circulation desks. 8 end of range book displays. 2 end of range stations for a laptop, catalog. And then 2 3-tier tables out there. Then we thought we would group
could I just clarify
Yeah.
a little bit? I think what we were going for is a a circulation desk with 2 stations on it,
Right.
rather than
Okay,
2
2
circulation
stations.
desks.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the the drop box is for the outside.
Yes.
You can almost see it, yeah, you can see it. Yeah.
so it was suggested that we put painting and window
Cosmetic.
treatments, cosmetic stuff into our regular budget. But, I think there's more to improving inside of the library than that. The teen charging counter was one, some stools for the kids to sit at. And then casters for the bookshelves, either casters to be installed or new bookshelves, so we haven't figured out that amount yet.
Because that would allow us to move the shelves
Right.
and open up the space and just, do all kinds of
We'll
different
just make it
things.
look different I mean,
Yeah,
the other thing that, is on our radar is that we do have $33,000 for carpet squares set at the town. But I do know we have to ask them to move that to next year if we're not gonna use it this year.
Well, That's what I
My,
was wondering, why
yeah.
aren't, why isn't some of this happening?
well, first of all, if we wanna improve inside, do painting and stuff, we should do the carpeting last. Right?
Well,
I mean, it would be easier for someone to come in and paint without new carpeting on the floor.
good. But if it's gonna be one of these things where they're gonna say, oh no, we're not gonna give them any more money because they don't use it. When we
Oh,
have
the
this
33?
planned, yeah,
I've asked. I've asked.
okay,
Just ask the select board to move it to 2025.
because then next year, are they gonna say, well, you have that, so you're not gonna get anything
I don't think that's gonna.
else?
No,
I
yeah,
just wondering.
I think we
because-
should formally ask them when Bob and I go in and Bridget go in to do this capital budget, to be sure, like, we'll be on record that they say,
The stuff we're purchasing with the new budget does not impact.
that
carpet
33, right?
squares. Yeah.
But we had talked previously about having a, like interior designer or something come in and tell us what we should have, I mean,
I think that's such a great idea, but it's
how to
hard
cost
enough to
arrange
get
it.
money for the
The actual
Things.
things.
right? Like, I don't know. I guess the answer is no unless you ask, but I have a hard time imagining that we would be able to get money for that.
But it does suggest that we put that on the list of items.
Oh, the,
Interior design consultant.
Could ask, sure.
with this grouping of painting
Yeah.
and carpet and all that
Because,
stuff. Okay.
remember I was saying you need to have these things all laid out in some kind of order.
Yep.
And start moving with it, and
Mhm.
it's,
Yep.
we've gone another couple of months without the movement.
Mhm.
One of the items from the last capital budget plan was the LED sign. But everybody agrees with me, I'm of the opinion that it is on the town property, it's not inside the building. Should be the town's, right, along with the door, ADA door. Sidewalks, and then there's been furnace issues, so. I don't know if we make the case for that when we go to the Capitol, but
Yeah, maybe we just give a list just
Of
to
things
make
we'd
sure
like.
that these are areas that are affected by the delays and bringing them up to date. And again, I'm still shocked at the lack of electrical outlets that we have in this place.
oh, I forgot
That's
to
right.
add those.
Yeah,
We
and
have to
I
add those.
missed that last time, and that was one of my other questions, I think, down here.
Is that so here's the question, is that the
the
library's
building.
cost?
It's
Or
the
it's a
building.
building maintenance
I
of,
think one good way of looking at it, that's the way I view it anyway. If you could pick up this building and shake it, whatever goes out the window is ours, but whatever stays
is theirs.
is theirs, because it's their facility.
So I'll put electrical outlets as a town.
Or if we were to
investment.
pack up and move, everything that goes with
Right.
us
We're not gonna take
is
the
ours,
outlets.
right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna take the kitchen sink.
Well, I don't know.
So for, I guess I'm gonna differentiate, okay, for the capital, Dropbox, circulation decks, book display, 3-tiered tables, the teen charge counter and teen
Can
seating.
can we maybe not include everything,
Right,
but just state
For the
that,
notes.
oh, for the notes?
This is just for the minutes. I wanna make sure I'm accurate.
Well,
Do
no,
we
I'm
wanna
not
do-
sure
You
you
guys
need
are gonna
that
be
for the
the-
minutes, because we're still,
Discussion was had about the capital
Yeah,
items.
yeah,
to include in the
something like
capital.
that,
Okay, then for my own information,
yeah, good.
I know that you said painting windows, window treatments operational. The interior design consultant, are we asking for the capital?
I'm just wondering if we could group up, because not any one of these one things is necessarily over 5,000,
Mhm.
which is their criteria.
Oh, okay,
So if we grouped everything,
right,
Into a library spruce up.
right, we could
Gotcha,
add,
okay.
we could put that person or that consultant into that.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were,
Okay.
because we had talked about, the paint windows, being part of that, not the capital, so I'm just trying to, in my own head, differentiate.
And I would guess they will tell us
Right,
whether that's a capital issue or something we have to maintain in our budget.
So is that the only outlet for this room?
No, there's
No.
that outlet, there's
There's that
one there, and then there's one by the
refrigerator has
fridge,
one.
and there's one by
Yeah,
there,
we're
so
talking
there's
four.
four.
One on each
For a
wall.
room of this size?
A community room.
Mhm.
And then out there is not any better,
No,
so.
So, and that's why we were saying too, the electrical you want to have done and all the outlets put in before you go and do the painting.
Sure,
right,
Because.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise
need
you're
your
cutting
order of
into that, you have to
operations for-
redo it.
right?
And this is why I was saying, we need to have some kind of plan of what needs to be done first and
Sure.
just go with it.
Yeah. I mean, but it all hinges on the fact that we don't have the money ourselves, right? And we don't have our reserves were not funded this year. We don't have the money and impact, like. We have to feed our face.
Because one option that Paul had mentioned was, the town may have to put this project out to bond. Seek voter approval, issue a bond to just do this one, because you start doing this piecemeal, it's gonna be a lot more expensive.
Absolutely.
As opposed to the entire thing being done.
And now the
integrated
furnace has
approach.
to be replaced. I mean, we're talking about a bunch of stuff that does need to be done.
and are we talking a bond for renovating or, improving, or are we talking a bond for new building?
Well, my thought was a new building, but
what's the difference between a bond and a levy? Is the
A
bond for the
levy?
roads and stuff,
Well,
and a levy is
no,
for
no, no,
building?
no, a bond is just a financing vehicle.
Okay,
And in this case, they tax exempt because we're a governmental institution, so we get access to incredibly low rates.
mhm,
So that then makes it more affordable.
okay,
And you can also extend the bond period. So I used to be the director of the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank.
oh, awesome,
So,
Okay.
but you can extend it out up to the useful life of the asset, but it's the weighted average. And typically of a project like this, you're probably looking at something between 25 or 30-year amortization schedule. But very, very affordable as a result. And this is a bread and butter project that the bond bank would just jump on.
okay. And I still have the suburb verbiage of, bonds were always in our old community for the roads and things, and levies were for schools and structures and that, so I didn't know if it
Or
was
you
the
can call
same
it what
here.
you want, but if it's a long-term loan, it's a bond
It's a bond,
for a municipality.
got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other business? We need to-
Were there a couple things you wanted to speak to
Oh.
Debbie about the
in
the
the last-
hazmat policy?
Well, I wanted to find out, I know that you had sent something. What's happening with that? Is it complete?
All I got was sort of a boilerplate. I don't think it was not that would be specific to the library.
So I guess
So
we've
where does
asked
that
the
leave us
question
again?
now,
Right.
right? I don't remember how many times, but do we ask the question again?
Because we need to be in compliance. That's
I
what we
hear
were
you.
trying for. That's what we were trying for, was to be in compliance.
Is there an answer as to whether we have our policy or we follow a town policy?
The last
was
I
gonna
heard,
call the
the
town.
town administrator was working on a policy that would include the library.
Right,
Okay.
it says that will be, well, notes say it will be specific to the library. I don't.
And that's why I was saying,
that's
I had given you the one that we had put
Right.
together to
Did
some
you
extent.
feel awful about this? Like, I feel like it's really, I wanna respect all the energy and like, just organization and like, it's beautiful. What you came up with
Right.
is beautiful and we just can't get it over the hurdle. So I wanna recognize that. And apologize that we haven't been able to get it.
But we need to get it over that.
Why,
I know.
why don't we just continue on with what you gave us that was very specific to the library? And have that as our own policy.
Because if something happens,
It has. to be
we don't,
covered.
we aren't able to answer to it. It's
Right.
not we don't have a budget, right? Like, the liability is not ours. Like, we are a department of the town.
I will access,
The
I know that,
insurance is under that,
yes,
and this is,
And so
This is it.
When OSHA comes knocking at the door, like, OSHA will be filing a report, not with Georgia Public Library for compliance or non-compliance. It will be with the town of Georgia.
I know that Cheryl forwarded, like I said, a boiler.
Right.
So did I forward that to you?
I
think
believe
Yeah.
that's what we got from Todd. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Right.
going around in circles
So
here.
do we just use that?
No,
it has to be filled out into.
No, I know.
Who's in control of certain things if something happens,
Right.
or
I guess
really getting.
I don't like this, but it's not ultimately our responsibility. Like, we have our ducks in a row, and once the town sorts out how to actualize it, then we're ready to give the information that they need to make that happen. And if, there's a compliance issue in the meantime, we've done our part. We have done
I mean,
our
can
due
we
diligence.
Put the select board formally on notice that
Yeah.
until further advice from them, we have adopted a procedure that we will be following. Period.
But that's why we needed the answers to the questions that were there,
Like
that we
who's
sort of
responsible?
filled in.
Yes, the person.
Yes,
Well,
and,
It doesn't
you
need to be
know,
a name, but it can be, the
Title.
town administrator, or,
Right.
the town clerk, or whoever it is.
instead of, a library trustee.
Right.
Or.
Right.
We've set up the play. Like the play has been
Right,
set
so-
up, and now yeah.
So here's what I think I should do is just the select board and the town clerk. Is there a town hazmat policy yet? Because that was something she said she was working on, so
Fine.
period,
Could we see our hazmat policy?
right. All right. Then
Well,
there's
I mean,
another-
that was what I
Yeah.
had asked there.
We do have an emergency call vendor list. I think I forwarded that too.
I have it, it's on the
Right.
desk.
Okay,
Right,
so we're good there.
I guess I'll ask this after, or are we gonna ask this now? What has been added? Is this what we're adding?
Yeah.
Okay, so that has been answered. And the only other thing is, this website business with the updated biographies and pictures and library trustees and staff.
We only discussed it. Do we want to do it?
Historically, for the last couple boards, that has been the practice. I think my read is that the community likes that. Do we have to do it? I don't think there's anything saying we have to. But I think people like it.
I mean, I think it's good to have it for the staff, because when they come in, they're gonna see the staff. And they'll know who the staff is.
Just curiosity, why would we not want to do that for trustees?
Because it changes, it can change year to year.
And honestly, staff has been very fluid over the last 5 years also. Staff has changed at least as frequently as trustees. I don't like that. Like, I'd like that to be different. And I'd like to support folks with better wages so that they stay around longer, but that's the reality.
Well, if we decide not to, I think we should still update the website because it does have Bridget. Let's see, but it also has
Oh.
Valerie and the old board.
Yeah.
Still
Okay,
listed,
let's-
which Sarah's on there, so you're a good girl, but everybody else. You know, so I'm willing, I know, Bob as well, although there's not very much.
I mean,
think we need
because
to
I
update
don't
you.
know what the purpose of it is. That's my question.
think
Really, what's the purpose of
I
it?
think the purpose is so that people can say, these are the people who make the library hum, right? Like, it's the staff and the director and the trustees are, you know, if you want to talk about the library, like, look for these faces in town, right? They would love to chat with you about the library. You're the townspeople's representative.
If you choose not to have a photo, then that's okay. It's just your name and
Yeah, and
a little
there-
blurb.
There's a lot, I would say half of the individuals from the last board did
Oh,
not have a photo,
right.
so.
Or you
But I
can
think it's
pick a
also,
cartoon or a frog or whatever.
right, and I know on the town's website, under library trustees, we're listed. So I just,
Well, that's what I'm saying, we're there,
so I think if anybody goes to the library purposefully and they, okay, oh, I didn't know Ben was on the library board, and they ask them and they'll be like, oh, wait, you're not on the library board anymore. Or if they see us and it's updated, it's, oh, Colleen, I didn't know you're on the library, let me talk to you about it.
because all the minutes have the names, all the,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I
agendas have
think,
the
I mean,
names,
at
all
least
the,
update it.
yeah.
But current, right? And we can choose to, do we want to just say, get your information to Bridget?
I
Whatever
think that's how
information
we
you
left
want.
it last time,
and we
honestly.
never-
Yeah.
and we never
What
did
are
it.
they looking for? So,
Perfect.
And I think, 6 sentences, 4
Right.
sentences, 3
Mhm.
sentences, like, I'm Joe. I like trucks. I live with my family in Georgia for 10 years
Right.
and I love books.
Okay. We'll try to remember to get that to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We all good with old business?
okay, so, yeah, I just, got those. Okay.
And then, any new business?
What is where you're talking about the.
So, I have a family situation. My dad is,
Right, just a second. You want to do this under executive session for personnel matter?
yeah, maybe.
I move to go into executive session with the library director remaining in the meeting, just to discuss a personnel matter.
Seconded.
So Zoom is ending, cameras off.
Hang on.